Hey, everybody. Welcome to The Tipping Point. I'm your host, Joanne Johnson. And tonight from Seahawk Productions, we have Lisa and Willi Sanow. I am so excited about this. You guys are going to absolutely love this interview. These are some amazing, amazing filmmakers and directors and writers. They are doing it all. We are going to talk about the art of filmmaking, what it takes to make films, how you get into the industry. We're talking about how to produce a film on a smaller budget, what it is about to be on set as an actor. Those things are going to be covered tonight. So make sure that you come back in just a minute. And we're going to, again, be meeting with Lisa and Willi Sanow from Seahawk Productions. All right, my darlings, as promised, Lisa and Willi are here. I'm so excited. These girls are on fire. They are out there absolutely killing it with Seahawk Productions, doing some amazing things. I don't want to wait anymore. You guys know how excited I get. So let's go ahead and bring them in right now. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. How are you?
We're good, Joanne. How are you?
You know, if I was any better, I wouldn't know how to behave myself. Life is good. Life is good. We are all out there just doing what we love. And you girls are no exception to this. I am so intrigued by your story and your careers and everything that you have going on. And I know we only have 30 minutes together. So I really want to just jump in on that right away. You are with Seahawk Productions.
Correct.
But before we get going, let's go back. Okay, let's go back just a little bit and talk about how you guys got into doing this, because to me, filmmaking and directing is so fascinating. So tell us, how did it begin?
Well, ever since I was a little girl, I always wanted to be an actress, and I used to put on shows for the neighbors, and I would pull Willi in. She's my sister, and we would perform for the neighborhood. And as I grew older, I decided that I really wanted to pursue acting. And I was born in Virginia, so I knew that eventually I needed to be in California to be able to work. So I moved across country to California, and I started working in the business, and I eked out a living for a little while, acting. And in fact, I had a commercial that ran in Japan, and I did a lot of extra work. And yeah, I one day was on the back lot of Universal just doing extra work, and the trams were going by, and all the Japanese tourists were pointing at me because I had done a series of commercials in Japan. And one of the other extras walked up to me and said, "Why do they keep doing that?" And I said, "I'm a star in Japan."
You're a star in Japan. I love it. Well, you're a star here too, though. Both of you. And are you allowed to say what commercial that was?
It was a Panasonic commercial for an interactive video game years ago, and I played the flower lady.
Flower lady. And apparently you had impact at being a flower lady. So that's fantastic.
Yeah. So little by little, I decided that all of the power was behind the camera. And so I went back to school and studied directing and producing, and I really fell in love with screenwriting. And so I started and one of the best things about college is that you get to write a bunch of screenplays. You know, they kind of force you into doing that. So I had a lot of rough drafts of different screenplays and ideas by the time I got out of school. And of course, I had done short films when I was in college. And I decided that I really love the art of short filmmaking. So I founded a group with a couple of other people in the business called Making Our Own Reels. And we started working on each other's short films, and so that we would have a calling card. And I had brought Willi out a couple of times to help make these films, and we all worked on each other's films. And my first one was based on my feature film, Putnam County Law. I wanted to have a calling card for it, and it was called Putnam Palace. Yeah. And to my surprise, I sold it, which in those days was unheard of. So
what did that, let me stop you, Lisa, for a second. What did that feel like the first time you did it?
It was amazing. I was, of course, I didn't sell it for millions of dollars, but it was seen on all the domestic flights of Frontier Airlines, and it was pretty awesome. That's one of the things that a lot of people ask me about. How did you sell a short film? And I'm like, if you make it like a regular film, so that it has a beginning, middle, and end, and your production value is high, you'd be surprised at what you can accomplish. So that was my main goal in making my short films, is to make them just like I would make a feature, so that I would get that experience. And at that time, I was working as a script supervisor, and I met a lot of people in the business. And I had met Elaine Hendricks and Lee Merriweather. And so my next vehicle I wrote was called Gone Postal. And I wrote and directed and produced it, and it starred Lee Merriweather.
Right.
And it was part of a feature film. It was the first act of a feature film. And that experience was amazing. Because I had a name actor in it, I was able to get product placement and free studio space to film. And the post office actually didn't like the name Gone Postal, but I wanted to be able to use their logo. And so with Willi's help, she's a brilliant legal mind and has great business sense. I approached them and they looked at the script, and I said, I'm trying to turn that word around, Gone Postal, it's a romantic comedy, and change people's minds about what going postal is like. And it touted a lot of the postal services and things like that, because it took place in a post office.
Yeah.
And finally they said, well, okay, and if you need anything at all, we'll open up the distribution center in LA, and you can go in and get mailboxes and things like that for free. And I was like, that is just awesome. Being able to use your logo and get free stuff. Yeah, that's great. So, and I developed a rapport with Lee Merriweather, and she was in my next film after that starred Elaine Hendricks, called Twisted Faith, which was a darker film that I wrote just for her. She had come and asked me if I could write something for her, because she always plays the comedian. She's best known for playing the fiance in Parent Trap.
Mm-hmm.
And so
and more recently, she's at Dynasty.
Yep. She was on Dynasty.
So.
So we did that little short film, and she played a serial killer. So it was kind of
That's different.
Yes, different for her. And I sold that film as well. I went to Cannes with that, and I sold that film. And then we started making other little short films on YouTube. And I had always had in the back of my mind that I wanted to do a feature. And so Willi and I kind of brainstormed, and I said, I have this kind of crazy idea to make a film that is all improv. And it's based on the storyline will be scripted, but it's all based on the family. And there was a Danish film movement in the 90s called Dogma.
Yes.
And so it was coming up on the 25th anniversary of that in 2020. And I said, this would be a great time to do it. We can do it on a short budget. And we just did it.
And the film that you're referring to is Final 48.
Yes.
Let's take a look at that, and let's come back and chat.
Okay.
Bloody hell.
As heirs to the assets of Hudson Mills Graham, valued at $850 million.
How's the old man? It's coming close.
So I've got to stay here for 2 days.
48 hours, exactly.
Why don't you want to stay? What's really
Because I don't like being manipulated. Oh, same. It's all the same. Like nothing ever changed.
This was a good idea after all, to bring you back to your room.
This is my refuge. It was my refuge then too.
We've got to figure this out.
Who's that?
I don't have a clue.
What is with this house?
What is with the gatekeeper?
If you do not sign that paper, your next stop will be out the front door.
Oh, you know what? Trust me, that's something I'm used to.
What happened?
I wasn't the son he thought I was supposed to be.
You are not supposed to be in the will.
Now this is when you tell us?
Dad didn't want anyone to know.
Oh, Dad didn't want anyone to know. He never wanted anyone to know anything.
Do you know what it's like?
Oh, stop! Let me just talk for a damn minute, please! Come on!
Oh my God. It was you? You wanted to bury this?
Oh, goodness. Well, this has been quite the touching family moment, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So talk about that. Talk about what went into it. I want to know how you arrived at, Willi, this is the story you came up with, right?
No, it is Lisa mostly came up with the story, but we did work very closely on it. So it is
Okay.
Lisa's really the creative mind of the two of us. While I have some creativity, she has way more. While she
She's
has
the
some
one.
business sense, I've got the
Perfect.
so we work well together. But she really came up with the idea. We then collaborated on the story, collaborated on the characters. There was in-depth character bios that our actors received, and we worked really closely on that. I mean, it was to the point where, is this comma right, or is that
Oh, yeah.
word just the right word to put in there? So we worked very closely so the actors would have a big roadmap of where they needed to go on their character arc, in the sense of who they were up to this point.
So, I mean, it's interesting because it's different than other films. I mean, in so many ways, it's different. Let's talk about that. So where did the idea for this particular one come from? And I know you're on a shorter budget with this one, and you filmed it in 4 days, I believe it was.
Correct.
Let's talk about that whole process.
Sure. So when one of the things about Dogma is that you are able to usually use one location, and they try to use as many incidentals at the location as you can. So the sound is all realistic. The photographs are all realistic. You try not to bring in as many props as you can. You use what's in the space. So when I developed the idea for this, it was really based on the idea that the patriarch of the family had split up over an incident that had happened earlier in their lives, and they didn't talk. And they didn't talk about it. And so when the patriarch of the family, who is a multimillionaire, is on his last legs, he has mandated that they have to come back together and under one roof for the final 48 hours of his life, and in order to collect their inheritance. So they're thrown into this situation where they don't know what's going to happen. And everybody has a secret and everybody has a lie. And over the course of the movie, they all get revealed. And so we kind of left it up to them. When we wrote the bios, they had it from the day of their birth all the way up to this point in time. And I worked really, as a director, really closely with the actors, filling in the gaps for them, because we purposefully left things open so that they would have their creativity.
Right.
So, and with COVID, we originally had planned to film in March of last year. And 4 days before we were going to film, everything got shut down. So we used that time to kind of kick back a little bit and make sure we had all of our ducks in a row. We had had a location in Noonan, Georgia, that was an estate. And when we went back to film, of course, we called all the same people back that we had spent so much time casting and hiring the crew, and we interviewed every single person on the crew ourselves. We're kind of proud of the fact that we had over 70% women working on the film, not because we structured it that way, but because we felt these were the best people to hire. Our editor was a female editor. We had a lot of people of different nationalities, which we loved. So it's a very diverse film, both on camera and off. We originally had 3 other actors scheduled that were going to come in from California. And because of COVID, we weren't able to do that. So we went all local. And that was okay. It turned out really
well.
great. We have a lot of local talent here in the North Carolina, Georgia area.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I love the fact, though, that you open it up for improv. It's so when you guys had this and you're brainstorming on all of this and you're thinking this is kind of where we're thinking the film might go, did it go where you thought it would go, or did it change and evolve?
It evolved.
It did. It really did. We, being a script supervisor, I know, and a director, I know exactly what kind of coverage you need. So one of the things that we wanted to do was to shoot everything in one take. Every scene was all done in one take, because once the reveal was done, it was no longer spontaneous for the actors, and we wanted that spontaneity. So we shot on 6 cameras. So we had 3 cameras that were provided by our camera crew and 3 that we rented. And what we did was we set up 3 cameras so that we could have a wide shot, a medium shot, and a semi-close shot. And then in the next room, because we needed to move because we were shooting in 4 days, we had the next 3 cameras set up so that once we shot in that one location, we would go to the next location and already have the cameras set up. And while we were in there shooting, our editing crew was on set with us. They took the footage off of those 3 cameras and downloaded it and moved it to the next room that we were going to be doing after it. So we really, it was kind of a film style that we created.
Yeah, time was really of the essence. Mm-hmm. So while we say that we shot the film in 4 days, we actually shot the whole film from start to finish in 2 days. And the next weekend is when we actually did the pickup shots. So we actually shot 2 films in 2 days.
Right.
That's amazing.
We shot the whole film in 1 weekend. And then for the next 3 days, because we had the editing crew on site, our editor sent us a rough cut within 2 days. And we went through the rough cut and translated everything that we needed, because it was all improv.
We had to transcribe
it all. And everything we wanted to do a close-up of, or, a dolly shot of, which we didn't get, we transcribed all the dialogue. And then the following weekend, we went back and shot those pickup shots.
See, and I love this because on both of my TV shows, that's what I do. I go straight through, no cuts, no edits. What you see is what you get. And it's different from what you're doing because you're doing film. But I love that because you're getting something so raw and beautiful. And where it goes is where it goes. And so when you're talking about this improv thing, my blood is pumping right now because I'm like, this is my jam, and I love to see. And even as an actor, you can say, well, I'm thinking this is where I'm going to take this character or not. But once you get there and it starts rolling, I'm sure you saw them kind of change it up. And based on what somebody else said, they went in a totally different direction. And it's such talent too. It speaks volumes of you and Willi, but it speaks volumes of the actors too, to be able to have that ability, to be able to switch and just go with it, and the camera crew and everybody. It's a whole different level. I applaud you for that.
Yeah, in our audition process, we actually threw them into improv right then and there, and we warned them this is going to be improv, and we did during our audition process. We did have to have them do a few improv scenes that literally they picked out of a basket. So
yeah.
So we felt we had Kelly Ladd was our female lead, and Tim Ross and Walter
Duckworth.
Yeah, Duckworth. But he likes to be Walter Robert Duckworth. Yes. Were our male leads, and they were just awesome. Basically, what we did before each scene started, I gave all of them an objective, everybody that was in the scene. And we just ran the camera until they each got their objective out. And if there was silence, there was silence. If it was uncomfortable, somebody was going to say something sometime. I warned them, we're just going to let the cameras roll. And they were so good. They were so good at what they do. I was highly impressed, and I love each and every one of them. They turned out if you see the film, you wouldn't even think that it was improv. Most people who have screened it say that was all improv. And we're like, yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of it is that they each knew who they were, what their character was, down to the, down to the dime. They had it down. So
And the storyline is so real, and people deal with this. Maybe not necessarily to the level that the Final 48 is, but when people come to the reading of a will and different things happen. And I know that there's people watching that have probably gone through an experience where maybe it didn't go so well, and maybe they were estranged from their family and brought back together. And I'm sure this is going to resonate with a lot of people.
and you'd be surprised, what people do for money, what they're willing to do or not do.
I wouldn't be surprised after what I've seen.
Yeah.
That's a raw one right there. Yeah.
And it was so interesting that where we thought things were going to go, they didn't necessarily go. And we gave them that objective, however you feel you want this to come out. And there was only one scripted line in the whole film, and it was the tagline, the ending line of the film. Yeah. And the gal that delivered that, I told her, based on your character arc, there's an old improv that actors do where it's a husband and a wife sitting at the table. And the dialogue is, morning, honey, morning, how do you want your eggs? And the rub is what the backstory is that's happening, how those lines are delivered are different. So if you give somebody the idea that you're a newlywed, those lines are going to be delivered one way, as opposed to you've just buried your first child. So it's the same lines, but they can be delivered in a different way. And she really lived up to that expectation, we thought. Yeah. And
I just love this. I just love this. And one thing I know, and I've heard this about y'all on set, is how well everybody gets along. And you spoke to that earlier. I mean, how much you respect the actors. And I know that makes all the difference in the world, is how everybody gets along on set. What would you guys say to people that are thinking, I want to get into this business, or I was fortunate enough to land a role on such and such film? What would you tell them are the do's and don'ts even of your first time on set with somebody?
I'd say first and foremost, you need to be on time and you need to be professional. This is a job. It's not this is not somebody's, we've got a barn and let's put on a show. This
right.
is a job, and we're working, and we all want to do the best that we can. So you need to treat everyone else with the respect that you think that you deserve as well. So we did that in a way that not only did, all our actors get credit in the film, so did our PAs. They were very important. People say, oh, they're just a production assistant. Oh, no. Somebody needed to take out that trash. Somebody needed to run the prop over here, or whatever needed to be done. So they are all very important. And as somebody who's in charge, if you will, we needed to treat them with the respect that we thought we would deserve. And that is, we tried to treat everyone with respect and with dignity. And we, listened to everyone that had some opinion to be said. Doesn't mean we necessarily did it or followed it, but we did listen to everyone.
I'm so glad that you guys said that, though, because, you can't get the job done by yourself. It's gone are the days of when you start. And I did that same thing that you were talking about, Lisa, in the beginning. I was the one too that was writing and directing plays from my backyard, and then running around to the neighborhood. Okay, but that's all fun and well, but that's not how it is once it's a job. And if the PA doesn't show up, or if craft services doesn't show up, or whatever, now everything's different on the set. And it's so important to value each other and see each other as equals. And truly, none of us are better than the other. And I love that about you. And I've heard that about the two of you, that you are just so good. And the people who work with you just respect you and think so highly of you.
Oh, well, that's nice to hear. We do have a kind of a mantra that, we like to work with people who like to work with us. So if we've worked on a project with you and we love you, we'll ask you to be on the next project. and that's pretty much how Hollywood works as well. I mean, you'll notice that a lot of the directors work with the same people over and over and over again. Why do you think that is? Because, you know, movies cost money, and they know that they can trust them to be there, and, you know, and that they're going to be on time and do what they're asked, you know, providing it's not morally corrupt. But yeah.
Right.
So, and the other thing that we try to do is mentor people, especially when you're doing films that are a low budget or a short film where, you know, that you hear a lot of people say, oh, my short film is going to go to Sundance. Well, you don't know that for sure. I've done a lot of short films. I've sold a lot of short films, and none of mine have ever been to Sundance. So it doesn't necessarily happen. So yeah, when you're doing that, if you promise somebody something like a copy of the film, you know, or credit in the film, make sure that you do that, because your word is your bond. You won't work if you don't.
Yeah, absolutely. And why was it important for you girls to do these films on a smaller budget? I love the fact that you did it, and I have something to say after you answer this. But tell me why it was important for you.
So for us, we wanted to prove that you could do a high quality film and not have to spend a gajillion dollars to do it, and that there's quality talent out there that's willing to work. And, you know, and it's not like we paid everybody on set, and we paid SAG minimum, even though they weren't SAG actors, you know, we did it non-SAG. So we weren't, you know, we're big believers in you're putting your time in. So, you know, if you're a volunteer on a short film, then I'm going to offer you a copy. I'm going to put you, you know, your name in it. All of my short films have credited the extras in it. You won't see a Hollywood film that does that. And that's a shame, because without an extra, you wouldn't have a crowd scene.
Exactly.
And, you know, they'll give credit all the way down to, you know, the person who drove the car, you know, for the star, but they won't give credit to an extra. That's really sad. So we kind of wanted to buck the Hollywood system and show that it could be done.
And you did. And that's exactly what I was going to say.
And we're so happy that, you know, we're now in the festival circuit looking for a distributor. We actually won the LA Sun Fest. We were the best independent film in that festival. And we've applied to like
several others.
Yeah, and we've gotten into every single one except for we didn't get into Sundance again. But, you know, you always have to try.
And it doesn't mean that you won't either. I mean, you just keep doing it. And that's the thing. People give up, you know, too soon. Think, oh, well, that's not for me or whatever. And we talk about this on this show all the time. This is not the time to give up. Stop it. You keep going. You have this gift and this talent and this drive. And today might not be the day for whatever it was, XYZ. It does not mean tomorrow's not the day. But you ladies are out here absolutely killing it. And that was my statement. I said I had something to say after I asked you that question. And it is, you showed it can be done, but you also showed something else, at least to me, in my humble opinion. You showed how well it can be done and the talent that it takes. And, you know, when you're truly gifted and you're truly talented the way that you two are, and the actors and everybody else, you come together. It doesn't cost $1 billion to do something. And I think that is so fantastic what you've done. And I can't wait to see what else. I know you guys have more things in the works. There are other things that are in pre-production and in development right now. Things are going on. We have a couple more minutes together. Talk about, maybe don't tell me everything, because I know I'm not allowed to know everything, but is there anything you can kind of pique our interest with what might be coming up next?
Well, other than, you know, distributing, we're looking for a theatrical distribution for Final 48. And other than distributing that, our next project is called Putnam County Law. It's about a small town sheriff who is running for re-election, and they have their first murder ever, and he becomes the prime suspect. We've got some name actors that have read it and want to be made an offer on it. So we are in the process of funding for that film, and we have it going before a couple of big name funders right now. So hopefully that will take off, and we're going to film it right here in Georgia, of course, because we love Georgia. So, and we have a great film community here.
Yes.
We do.
Yeah. And we have a slate of 8 films, feature films. And I'll tell you, this was my first feature. That was another reason why I wanted to make this film, because one of the things I kept hearing from financiers was, well, yeah, you've sold your short films and they're great, and you've proved that you can do it, but you've never done a feature film. So now I've directed a feature film, and I have to tell you, when we sat down and watched it for the first time, when we had the final cut, when we saw our names on the screen, it brought a tear to our eye.
Oh yeah.
Yay! We finally did it.
You did it, and what an accomplishment. And truly, I mean, again, you're talking about being a kid and putting on these plays and things. This is something that's been in the works for a very long time with you, something that you guys are clearly passionate about what you do, called to do it. And I love that. And I congratulate you both on everything that you have done and the things that you have coming up. I know we're expecting fantastic things, big things from you. You're just getting started. So
Yeah.
This is the coolest.
Thank you so much, Joanne, for having us. We
Yes,
really enjoyed it. And
yes.
When we have our premiere, we'll invite you.
Please do. Please do. And as you have more things coming up, and let's come back and let's do this again. And as we have more projects that are being released, we want to help you. We want to get that word out as much as we can for you. So please come back.
Sure.
Well,
we'd love
you.
to. Thank you.
It was fun.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. How much do you love them? I am more in love with them now than I was before. These are women that are out there absolutely grabbing the ring. They see it, they grab it, they go after it. But here's the thing. They're kind to everybody and they're humble. You can see that in the interview. That speaks volumes to who they are as people. But it's so important to not get all about ourselves. We have this little bit of success. Things are going on. It's not just about us, right? You guys know that. It's about the entire team. And that's one of the things that we say at the end of every show. When I close it out, I tell you, please be loving and be kind, but above all, be humble. The minute we start thinking that we are all that and a bag of chips and Fritos and whatever else we think it's over. It's not about us. We can't do that. So I really appreciate them. Again, Seahawk Productions. Make sure that you go. It's on the bottom of the ticker. Make sure you go to the website, see the projects that they have coming out, and go and you can get on their YouTube channel. Go watch these things, support these things. And if you are an investor, somebody who is into financing, this is the place to go. They have so many projects that are coming. I implore you, please get behind what they're doing. They're fantastic game changers and national entertainers. So thank you again for coming to the Tipping Point. I love you. God bless you. And I will see you next time.
Hello, Tipping Point viewers. My name is David Chuddick, and I'm the host of the Weekly Wealth Podcast, www.weeklywealthpodcast.com. And I am also a financial advisor. If you have anything that's keeping you up at night with regards to your money or finances, email me at david@parallelfinancial.com or check out my Calendly link, www.calendly.com/davidpf. Let's have a 30-minute conversation. Let's talk about what next steps you may have in your financial life.